Hey, welcome back to Reddit Cheating Wife, the best channel for cheating stories. Like and subscribe to the channel for cheating stories like this.
I, 28 male, found out about my GF's, 28 female, affair with her boss 40's M a week ago. Should I confront her before I leave? We've been together for 5 years, and I was saving for a home and a wedding, but that's all gone now. Every morning, I went for a run, and I couldn't locate my phone. I requested her to call my mobile phone, but she declined and offered her phone to me. I had some misgivings about her conduct during the last 2 months, so I snooped. Let's just say that all of her work travels and late nights were merely pretexts for with her boss, who is also a married guy. I'm not sure when it all began, but based on the messages, it seems to be happening on a daily basis around the workplace. The lockdown put an end to it, and the wife discovered the affair as well. As a result, the boss had to put a halt to it. This also explained why GF was so sensitive in March. I'd often found her crying her eyes out, but the reason she offered me was because one of her friend's mother had died from COVID. The last several months have really been beneficial to us. I enjoyed spending so much time with her, and everything seemed to be in order. We discussed marriage, children, and what our future may hold. She also seemed to be more involved in the relationship than she had been earlier this year. I had already begun saving for a home, but under COVID, I had to accept a salary reduction. As a result, I've been hunting for new work since last month. I've reduced my options down to 2 employment offers. One in the same location with a significant pay raise, and the other on the West Coast with a massive pay boost with possibly the top firm in my sector. I haven't informed her about the offers yet, since the talks are still going on. However, all of this happened last week. Since starting to work remotely, girlfriend has had little communication with her supervisor. However, their discussions resume at the beginning of this month. At first, it was all about how much. They both regret what they had done to their respective relationships, how he had to work hard to restore his wife's confidence, and so on. The tone then altered in the second week, with emphasis on how they still had emotions for one another, but that it had to end. She also said how she was looking forward to marrying me and how it would crush her heart if I found out about the adultery. Anyway, all that messaging led them to decide to meet up for one final time before calling it quits between them for good. I discovered out about it all last Friday, and they intend to meet up this weekend. She also informed me that she is going to assist a buddy who is returning to her homeland this weekend. I couldn't get off the couch for an hour after I finished reading everything. It felt like my body weighed a ton. I began to imagine them having and making fun of me behind my back, and all kinds of nonsense ran through my thoughts. Last week was a living nightmare for me. Looking at her, who was ecstatic about the weekend, made everything worse. Anyway, I'm going to pack everything tomorrow while she's gone. I'm on my way back to my folks' house. I have yet to tell them anything. Rather, I have not spoken to anybody. I've held everything inside of me, and it's getting out of hand. That is why I'm writing this. Else, I will go insane. I intend to accept the position on the West Coast. It'll be distant for a long anyhow, so it's not a big deal. I have no intention of leaving anything behind, not a letter, not a text, not anything. As soon as I get on the road, I'll block her. This week has been spent organizing my finances and speaking with my landlord. And now I'm finished. What I'm curious about is whether or not I'm on the correct track. Should I discuss it with her? Honestly, April and May were great months for us, but I don't believe I can trust her anymore. Even gazing at her face while chatting to her the previous 2 days was difficult. I simply want it to be over. It's simply that she was looking forward to a life with me, and I'm sorry that our relationship has failed her. Story 2. I am still unable to move past my wife's affair years ago. I discovered my wife having an affair with another lady around 7 years ago. They were texting "I love you so much, and I hope we could be together forever." She was dating her and lying about where she was and who she was with and so on. My wife is bi, and I'd never had a problem like this until I found the affair by discovering hundreds of messages to the same number while I was sleeping every night on my phone bill. So I went through her phone, discovered what was going on, and decided to approach her about the phone bill. I didn't tell her I had gone through her phone and found the texts, because I wanted her to come clean rather than just acknowledge responsibility because she had no other option. I thought that the works would serve as a means of reconciliation and trust building. My wife denied that anything was strange and then accused me of being jealous and crazy. She texted her buddy that night when I was sleeping saying, "We need to chat, please call me," and then they spoke for 2 hours on the phone. I checked her phone again the following morning, and they had been messaging about how nothing can prevent them from loving one another, and other such star-crossed lovers nonsense. I questioned her again the next morning, and she denied it once again before deleting the text conversations she didn't believe I'd previously seen. I informed her I knew she deleted the messages because I had seen them, and she still denied it, claiming they were just friends and that occasionally friends say I love you, despite the fact that these were clearly amorous emails. I told her I couldn't trust her anymore, and that if she couldn't be honest with me about this, there was no way we could continue together. We had a child together, so I was half bluffing to get her to reveal the truth, since my child was my life, and I was not going to give up a single day with her to split custody or lose it. She called my bluff and responded, "I'm sorry you feel that way," implying that I was free to exit the relationship at any time. She didn't argue, she didn't beg for forgiveness. She simply essentially dared me to leave her, which she knew I wouldn't do. It was like a child standing in front of a shattered cookie jar, telling everyone she didn't touch it. I urged her to please cease meeting the other lady and take our marriage seriously so that we could raise our daughter together, and she agreed to do so without admitting any wrongdoing in the first place. That was sufficient for me since all I wanted was to wake up in the same home as my kid every day. Fast forward 7 years, and I've been working hard to overcome this problem, but she has never acknowledged to doing anything, and at this time, understandably, she threatens to leave if I bring it up. I don't bother her about it, but it keeps me up at night, and if she asks what's wrong, I tell her. We had 2 more children because I thought I could get over it, and she had stopped seeing the lady. But here I am, still worried and wishing things had turned out differently. Is there any way I can persuade myself to go on without her ever being honest about what happened? I still don't want to leave her since I love her and like seeing my kids every day, and apart from this situation, she's a wonderful mother to our children. Story 3. What to do with cheating GF. After dating this woman for a few months, we found ourselves in a good place together. We have the appropriate chemistry, we have the same interests, and we believe we have discovered the ideal person for each other. I first trusted her totally, but I had a nagging feeling that something wasn't quite right every now and again, so I disregarded it. I noticed a few months back that she was receiving messages from a guy who seemed to be really interested in her, and, I know this is awful, I looked through her phone to see who it was. I know I broke her trust and should come forth with it. I learned she had been flirting with this guy and even met up with him, but their relationship didn't really progress. When I confronted her about it, just to see what she would say, she categorically denied it. She even took images of them drinking, despite the fact that she claims she has never met the individual in question. I wouldn't call it adultery, but lying and being untrustworthy led me to have trust issues in this relationship, which I was unable to overcome. Later, I found out that she had a boyfriend when we first started dating, but that he had broken up with her and was leaving her. The one time I slept over, my ex-boyfriend came over in the middle of the night and coughed her up in bed with me. A long chat ensued, during which she stated that I was only a colleague and that nothing had occurred. Not true. They ultimately came to a halt in their conversation, but they quickly resumed it, and it seemed like she was unable to let go of the conversation. They eventually reconnected, and she even admitted her feelings for him. She spent several nights with him after that, while she does the same with me. Her reasoning for needing alone time was accepted, and she informed him that she was staying at a relative's or friend's residence on those days. I recently sought to get her to confess by claiming that someone knows what's going on and would be willing to spill the beans if she would just confess. As a consequence, she severed all ties with her ex-husband and was forced to be completely candid with me. Despite the fact that I am aware of everything, she lies and claims that nothing happened, and that it is just a crazy ex who is seeking her. I'm fed up with the deception and cheating, but she doesn't appear to be willing to admit or come clean, which is disappointing. I don't want to pretend that I learned this information from her ex-boyfriend and watch how she reacts. What are your opinions on the matter?